So one of the dark horses from the football boot world from 2024 was actually Skechers. And Skechers had the Razor 1.5 and of course the SKX 1.5. And these boots really surprised me because of their Teijin synthetic forefoot, the knit midfoot, and a really nice and responsive sole plate. Now, they've translated that into one of the coolest colorways on the market in a new Electrum Pack that we are going to jump into today, as well as a brand new SG sole plate. So without further ado, guys, let's hop into the unboxing. So regular Skechers football with, of course, the tech specs here labeled on the corner of the box, which I always think is pretty awesome as well, so you can kind of see what's inside the boots. And then here is the sizing guide as well. So you have the Skechers Razor 1.5 Elite in soft ground, and these are in a US 9.5 and a US women's 11. Just for those of you who don't know, I do actually go up half a size for the Skechers Razor and true to size for the SKX, but you would know that if you download my free size guide. I'll leave a link down below in the description. Totally free, goes through all the boots that I've ever reviewed and the size that I wear in them so you can compare and contrast. So make sure you go pick that up. But a 9.5 up half a size from my normal Nike, Adidas, Mizuno sizing. So as we get these unboxed, you are meted with a nice string bag. This is something that Skechers actually came straight out of the gate with, was adding string bags, unlike a lot of other brands who don't put any string bags in their boxes, which is a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. Skechers, on the other hand, decided to go for it as well. All right, let's get these unboxed. I'm actually really excited to see what this Electrum Pack looks like. Oh, man. Oh, my days. Look at those. Little bedazzled S. This is actually the Skechers S for the soccer or the football kind of portion of their brand. The Skechers S for the big brand is actually slightly different. And then there's that sole plate as well. Holy moly, very silver. This is a beautiful pair of football boots, I got to admit. I actually think it looks even cooler with the soft ground. Makes it look super aggressive and very, very nice. Okay, let's get these out of... Ooh, does it come with a tool or anything? It does not. Okay, interesting. All right, well, in that case then, unfortunately, God, I don't know what's going on with my voice right now. You might have to have a tool or something to actually tighten the studs. I'd be a little bit worried. Yeah, see, I can undo that with my hand. That's no good. Do they actually include... See, I'm actually quite confused right now. Do they actually put a... Oh, they do. Okay. It's in the string bag. Here we go. Show you guys here. There you go. Little Skechers branded tightening tool. Okay, that's good. I'm glad they... I figured they would, but here we go. All right. Skechers Razor 1.5. Now, this is a model that I rated very, very highly in a lot of my reviews. I think they're incredibly comfortable. The forefoot does a really nice job of what actually feels almost identical to the Teijin synthetic on Vapor 10, which of course was one of the most beloved football boots really of all time in terms of the speed boot market. Now, what they've done with the Razor is they've included kind of the touch area or the hot points of that boot in that beautiful Teijin, and then in the midfoot they have their performance FitKnit material, which goes basically all throughout this midfoot area through the lacing system, and then they've got this kind of mesh-based synthetic here on the midfoot point here and around the rear quarter of the boot, which makes for a very thin and barefoot feeling on the ball. So as I said before, this is the Electrum Pack colorway. The SKX I will also be reviewing, and there's a really interesting piece of tech on that particular boot, which I'll talk about in that video. Hint, it's a very similar sole plate to the one here on the Razor, which is very, very cool for a control boot. Now, the updated FitKnit material compared to the first gen is a lot more premium feeling. It definitely feels more like an upscale boot now, which is really nice, and I think really matches essentially the vibe of this new speed boot. My guess is that they will update the Skechers Razor at some point in the next 12 months, I'd say, just because it's been out now for, first generation, kind of a 0.5 generation, and probably for about a year and a bit now. And so I'd imagine they'd update it at some point soon, but they are off to a wonderful start with this football boot, in my opinion. The HyperBurstPro sockliner is also one of the features of this boot that I really like. It's one of those features that I also kind of tell other brands they need to get on board with. And I know a lot of brands are moving towards this direction, or at least including something like this in their football boot packaging. So maybe they'll put like a lightweight insole in there and then add a little bit of a thicker insole, sort of like the F50 series does from Adidas. The HyperBurstPro is essentially the running foam from their running shoes. It's actually like a very cushioning, very, very nice underfoot feeling, and feels almost like you've got an extra little bit of padding, kind of similar to the Boost material that Adidas used to put in their Ace Pure Control. And what that basically does is, despite this being a carbon-infused sole plate, it's very aggressive, it's very low to the ground, you still have that little bit of extra cushion underfoot, which feels really, really nice when you're running around. Obviously, on a soft ground surface, it's not going to be maybe as noticeable, because soft ground is obviously very squishy and soft, and probably very muddy in general. But for the firm ground, the FG model, it actually makes a substantial difference when you do decide to play with that FG on an AG surface. I think the third thing I would love to see is an AG model of the Razor, because I think that would really help distribution in countries like America and in Australia, and even most places in Europe where they've got a lot of AG ground. And a lot of people will steer away from sole plates like this because it is a little bit more aggressive due to the fact that it's all chevron and bladed studs. This is obviously not the case with a soft ground version, because if you're playing with this on AG, no. Good luck. You're going to break your ankles. But in general, I think this sole plate is quite aggressive, and that HyperBurst sockliner does give it, especially with longevity, long-term playing or training sessions, it does give that extra bit of cushioning underfoot, which feels really, really good. Now, I did mention the carbon-infused sole plate, which feels really good. It is quite responsive, and it doesn't do anything, I would say, overly exceptionally well, but it works really well for this particular boot. I think it complements the shape of the boot. It complements kind of the feeling that you get with this boot. And I would say that it's on par, maybe a little bit less aggressive than something like the new Furon version 8 sole plate. So it's not special necessarily. There's nothing kind of crazy about it, but that's really not the point of this sole plate. The point of the sole plate is to be aggressive, and of course with the SG studs, to be really functional in that SG sort of environment. Now, it is about 190 grams or so. I would guess they're going to be a little bit more due to the addition of the metal studs, which of course you can see here are screw in and screw out. I do get a lot of questions about whether users of football boots and footballers in general can take the steel studs out and put in like a round rubber stud. That is something that I have seen done before. It is something that I think works totally fine. I've got friends who have done it before, and they have no issues with it. I would just be very careful that those studs are really, really short, and that or at least match, I guess, the length of the already integrated studs of the sole plate. And then the 6 studs that you replace, make sure that they're about the same height and they're all conical, because then you're going to be able to wear it as more of an FG AG hybrid as opposed to an FG SG hybrid like the one here. So just something to consider. Obviously, I don't really recommend it all that much, particularly because those round plastic studs are pretty hard to get a hold of, and the ones you find on Amazon are usually pretty crap. So I'm tempted to actually just create them myself at some point and sell them on my website. But I also want to make sure that they're the right product, because it is something that it's a very niche market of people who are doing that. Regardless, the Skechers Razor in this new Electrum Pack colorway is absolutely fantastic looking. It's definitely I would say it's my favorite colorway, just ahead of that Diamond Ice Pack colorway, the white with the blue. I love the white and the blue, but white and silver, especially with this metallic sole plate, just says something different. And I also think that a soft ground stud pattern on a speed boot just makes it look so much more aggressive. It makes me think of that Hypervenom 1 commercial with the snake fangs and stuff, and it looks just super epic. So this is a very, very cool football boot, and I'm really excited to see what it actually kind of feels like and performs like on a soft ground pitch. So without further ado, guys, let's jump onto a firm ground / soft ground pitch. All right, guys, out here on the pitch with the Skechers Razor in soft ground. This is a video that I've been looking forward to making because it hasn't really rained a whole lot because we're coming into fall now. It finally rained like crazy last night. So the pitch is a bit wet. It's, again, Aussie fields. They're kind of hard in general because they're like more sand based, but you'll get the idea of the sole plate once we get into playing. But let's get these on feet. This colorway is absolutely sensational in my opinion. Boom, there we go. Very, very nice. The fit of the Razor is just awesome in my opinion. I think it's one of the best fitting speed boots on the market, and it really does a nice job of kind of holding your foot in place while giving you the forefoot freedom with this Tasian synthetic material here in the forefoot to really kind of do all the ball manipulations that you would want to. Now, unlike the SKX, that review will be coming soon, the soft ground review. This one keeps the same sole plate, it's just a mixed stud version. So each boot does come with that little key situation that you can tighten the studs with. I've already gone through and tightened those as well. And for just a quick reminder for those of you who don't want to rewind this video, this is a half a size up. So if I go true to size, these boots are really, really small. And then I get just a tiny bit of extra space on the end with the 9.5, which is absolutely perfect for what I'm looking for. So there's a look at the boots. In my opinion, they look absolutely sensational, and it's definitely one of those boots that I'm gonna be keeping and using for all of my soft ground needs, which is at this point in my career pretty irregular, I would say. But yeah, needless to say, the pitch is definitely a little bit dense, so having that extra little bit of bite is super nice. And I mean, these boots are so comfortable. I really, really like the Razor. I think it's a super underrated speed boot from the Skechers brand. Now, I think something else that sort of is a good topic for discussion for today's review is really the difference between soft ground specific studs and mixed studs. And then of course, Nike has their, what do you call it? Their, what am I trying to say? Anti-clog. So with a mixed stud, I think going, like if you bought two pairs of football boots and one was a mixed stud like this and one was the regular Razor, your translation between how you feel on a, see with this mixed stud, looks really, really nice. The translation between a firm ground, a soft ground, and even an AG, and although I know that Skechers doesn't have AG models quite yet, this is one of those situations where the underfoot feel of the ball compared to the FG is super similar. So you're not really gonna find over the course of playing, especially when you're doing, you know, drags, rollovers and stuff, which we'll get to just in a sec, you're gonna find that this is gonna be a lot more kind of maneuverable compared to, say, a 6-stud configuration or an SG only configuration. And I think that's actually what Skechers did really well here, is they probably saw on the market that a lot of boot brands are not producing a soft ground model, and so why not produce a soft ground model, one, but then also a lot of players, especially pros, guys who I knew playing and like top pros in the Prem and stuff, are getting boots reconstructed or what's called SG swapped or steel stud swapped, where they'll give a regular pair of Razors, cut off the 6 studs in these positions, and then just replace them with screw-ins. And there's different Instagram dealers that do that and stuff, which is great. But instead, Skechers was just like, we'll just do it ourselves. And man, these feel freaking awesome underfoot. Number one, I really like this sole plate. I think it's super, reminds me a lot of Vapor 11. Like it feels like you really kind of stick inside of the sole plate. It's very ergonomic, but also you get that awesome like underfoot feel that you don't get
with other soft ground type of boots. Now, in terms of the boot in general, right? Like we've kind of established, and we'll get into some shooting in just a second to show, like really show kind of the grip elements and stuff. I do think there's something, ooh, hello. I do think there's something to be said about just the Skechers Razor in general. I think this is one of, if not sort of the most underrated sole plates, or excuse me, football boots on the market. The reason for that is because they've gone with some pretty amazing materials that don't feel cheap, but they're also not crazy, crazy, crazy expensive. And the knit that feels super seamless transition between that knit material in the midfoot and the microfiber synthetic in the forefoot is just awesome. So every time you are manipulating the ball kind of this way, outside of the foot, inside of the foot, it feels like one seamless piece of material, as opposed to being like synthetic, leather, knit, blah, 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 all kind of blocked together. Right, a little bit of whippage going on here. This is gonna be interesting because it's dried out just a little bit because of the sun and the heat. So I'm hoping I can get a little bit of that kind of whip around to it. Oh, lovely. Traditionally, well, I should say not traditionally, but in general, the Skechers Razor doesn't have any grip in it. So it's very similar to that Vapor 10 type material, meaning that it doesn't have any sort of like, it's pretty slick, to be honest. Like in wet weather conditions, these would perform great because the sole plate is really good, but I'd be interested to see kind of what it would feel like with the upper, just because the upper is pretty slick. Like in slightly wet conditions with the FG Razor, I've had those on an AG pitch, and it's pretty slippery. I don't mind it because I don't really care that much. I can kind of adapt to whatever. But for those of you who like a little bit of grip elements, these might not be kind of the right boots for you. Right, so like most Skechers boots, especially with the SKX and the Razor, I do find that the fit is really good straight out of the box. I think I fit maybe shape-wise a little bit better in the SKX, but I like, once it's broken in, the fit of the Razor fits absolutely perfectly in my opinion, and I don't have too many hot spots as it is, which is awesome because that's obviously not what you want when breaking in a pair of football boots. The pitch I'm playing on, I guess you could probably get away, like it's obviously natural grass, but you could probably get away with these if you wanted to. These are 11 in the front and 13 in the back in terms of length, millimeters. So they're on the lower side. Obviously they make them up to like 13 and 15, I'm pretty sure. Ooh, there you go, bang. They make them up to, I think Skechers only sells the 11s and 13s, but I would guess like Nike and all those others sell 13 and 15 if you had like a really, really muddy pitch. But for this pitch, I feel totally fine in these. Even though this is technically firm ground now, because it's not as wet as I thought it was gonna be, but it's still sort of, there's some thicker areas, and so you could definitely get away with these. They feel good to me, at least. All right, so in terms of hot spots, I'm not really feeling much in the way of hot spots at the minute, and which is obviously a good thing. Clearly, I'm hitting every shot that I want to today, which is great. Although knock on wood, because you don't want to speak too soon. So I have a little bit of hot spot on kind of the top side of my midfoot, right before my knuckle and my toe. So you're not gonna be able to see on here, but like imagine like there, like here. I know that's kind of weird, but that's pretty standard for me for the Razor. It's one of those boots that doesn't fit perfectly straight out of the box, and which is okay, because that's just part of the break-in process. I think a lot of people who play football, and especially those who message me saying, I feel like I can't find anything that fits. And if it does fit, it's way too big or whatever. Boots, in my opinion, aren't meant to fit perfectly straight out of the box. There's a few, very, very few on the market that you're gonna be able to find that fit absolutely perfect straight away. My list is like 5 boots ever. The point is that, remember, every boot is made to be semi-general fitting so that most people can get in them. That's why break-in time exists. Sometimes, like I do now, you're gonna have hot spots and it's gonna feel kind of pain and it's squeezing a little bit. Know that that material over time will stretch a little bit. So don't stress about, oh, nothing fits me. No, things fit you. You just have to take the time to actually break them in. And amazing things don't happen overnight with 0 effort. All right, free kick time. Let's whip these in, top bins. Get them going. I really like these boots. I think the Razor is super fun to play in. It's lightweight. You have a pretty decent, like really decent feel on the ball, especially with that Tajin. If you liked the Vapor 10, you're gonna absolutely love these. I've said that before in reviews. But really the main point of this review was to test the, there it is, was to test the SG sole plate, which in my opinion is very, very good. It's one of my favorite sole plates already on the market, and I think it deserves a lot more credit. A lot of people say it's simple. A lot of people say it's not that great. It's not real carbon, blah, blah, blah. Oof. And I would just say, test it out, man. This is like a really great combination for me, at least, of feeling like you're sunk into the ground. So you feel really grounded and agile, like you can feel the different bumps and nooks and crannies of a pitch like this. But also you have the SG studs, which really grip in. So I don't know, there's not a lot of downsides to this sole plate, in my opinion, at least compared to the FG model, which is already really good. And of course we have to get the every video, it's not inaugural, because isn't inaugural like every year? It's the traditional, it's the NC playtest tradition. We gotta figure out a better freaking name for this. It's a bloody crossbar challenge, that's all it is. All right, let's go right foot first today. I think we're feeling the right foot. Here we go. Oof. I pumped up the balls quite hard today, which is good because that's the way that most people should train. Oh, that was so close. Well, let's hop into conclusion. All right, guys, wrapping up the Skechers Razor 1.5 updated edition. Obviously, it's been a while since it's been updated, but still like to call it the 1.5 in soft ground. Now, the soft ground edition is literally identical to the firm ground edition, which is great. You don't get any kind of weirdness going on there. I think these are awesome. And the reason I think they're awesome is because I think the Razor is awesome. And I think, although it doesn't feel often to a lot of people like something crazy special, it is just a really well-constructed football boot. And my hope is that for the Razor 2, whatever their next generation is, I really hope that they take all of the learnings that they got from this boot, don't iterate over the top, don't do anything stupid, don't like completely change the boot, just start iterating slowly and make this into something that, I mean, that's ridiculously soft for a Tajin synthetic already. And this is the first time I've ever put these on. I do have a little bit of soft spot here in the midfoot. That's obviously a pretty standard thing for me in terms of break-in time. I've got quite a wide foot basically from here to here in the midfoot. And so that's not something that again, as I said earlier, that's not something to worry about. Everybody's gonna have break-in for some boots, and that's just part of the process, right? So I don't think you need to stress about it. If you are a wider footed player, I think you are gonna fit into these. Again, I fit into them half a size up from my normal 9 US. These are a 9.5 US, or a UK 8.5 Euro 43 and a 27.5 centimeters. So just be aware, going up half a size is gonna be the best possible fit, I think, for most people. If you have a really narrow foot and you don't mind having your toes really crunched up to the end of the boot, I would go true to size. So I would go with a 9 US if you're a 9. But for me, going up half a size in these and then true to size in the SKX is by far the way to go. Very comfortable, super impressed. These are easily staying in my collection as a soft ground option, because I actually don't have very many soft ground boots. I only have one other, well, 2 other pairs if you count the SKX, but I only had 1 pair that I ever kept, and that was the gray, dark gray and orange Hypervenom 3 soft grounds. And I have a pair of those, but I would probably wear these more often just because I don't want to, like, I'd rather beat the crap out of these instead of beat the crap out of the Hypervenom. So yeah, nice work, Skechers. Awesome job. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll leave a link down below in the description box below for the Skechers Razor if you guys are interested in purchasing. Through the links really help with the support of the channel as well, so I can keep doing these reviews. And also, if you guys are interested in sizing, I have a like 70-page resource that's a free size guide for you guys on my website. I'll leave the link down below for that as well. As always, be awesome, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.